good to be here, except I don't see all of you because of the light. But thank you for coming. This is the last few weeks of school, 2 weeks and a half or a week and a half. And I know how that feels. You know, the nerves are out there active. And I wish I could take you all to my home where I can give you a great back rub. And I do marvelous foot massage as well. You know, but my home is in the East Coast. If you can pay the plane fare, I'll welcome you at the airport. It's good to be in Los Angeles on your campus. Thank you, Ivan, for inviting me and for the other people who had been involved in planning the program. I just want you to know the different languages, the different members of the worship team, they come from Indonesia, they come from the Czech Republic, come from Kyrgyzstan, Bangladesh, Japan, Korea. That is how rich part of the student population at Biola is. And if you're like me, under stress, coming to worship calms me down. Because it's not about me. It's about God. He is our great God. And I hope that the worship really ministered to you so that the worries you have, the things that concern you, the papers, the deadline, that we can offer that to God this morning. That's what chapel is about. It's about God and what He wants us to respond to Him in love and adoration, and all the other things will fall in place. Like I said, I really have a good experience in Los Angeles as an international student. I arrived at the Los Angeles airport, and my first shock was to be in the midst of all these tall Americans. You know, with Filipinos, we see eye to eye. And I was just surrounded. And then we got to the freeway, and I was stunned how big the cars were and how fast they were. And then as I traveled to other parts of the States, you know, onto the West Coast or onto the East Coast, I was also surprised to see how huge the trash cans were. You know, you drive in the neighborhood and they've got these huge trash cans. And I wondered, as a newcomer, I said, what do Americans throw away? I can fit 2 of me in one of those cans. Such experience was heightened when I got to Wheaton Graduate School, and they welcome all the graduate students with this great welcome dinner. Well, the food was served, and my jaw dropped. I saw big pieces of meat. Not in the middle of the table, on each plate. They called it steak. I couldn't eat my steak because back home, my mother would cut them up, that one piece, put lots of vegetables together, and feed 7 children and other stray relatives along the way. I was just overwhelmed. This whole thing of a new culture, a new way of living, a new way that people behave, but nothing really matched my culture shock than one afternoon actually, a Friday afternoon at Wheaton. This guy came up to me and asked, Lisa, what are you going to do this weekend? And being an international student, I had things to do. I said I had papers to do and laundry to do. And Monday came, and he asked me, how was your weekend, Lisa? And I said, I got my reading done, I got my laundry done. Well, Friday came along, and he asked me again, what are you going to do this weekend? And I said, of course, I'm a list person. I have things to do. And by the way, as I grew older, I have a list of things to be, okay? So I said, well, I'm going to see my friends in Chicago, and, you know, I have some good time with them. Well, that quieted him down, and he said, okay. So Monday came, and he asked again, what are you going to do? Oh, how was your weekend? And I said, well, I visited Chicago. I had a great time. By this time, if you're new in a culture, you begin observing patterns, repetition. What is going on? One question on Friday, a different question on Monday. So I went to my cultural mentor. I needed help. And he was my theology professor. I was a graduate assistant at that time. And I asked him, I said, there was this guy in class. He asked me this question on Friday, what you going to do this weekend, and on Monday. And before I could finish, he turned his swivel chair and with great wisdom put his hand on his forehead like this and said, Lisa, Lisa, didn't you know what he was asking? I said, no. He was asking you for a date. I was shocked. I said, I thought Americans were direct. He replied, not this time. So I asked him, good cultural mentor, how do I respond? Well, with great wisdom, he said, on Friday, when he asks you, what are you going to do this weekend? Say, are you ready? Nothing in particular. What do you have in mind? Boy, I wish I knew that the first time around. Nothing so like a good cultural student. I memorized my line. Nothing in particular. What do you have in mind? Wow, I got the answer. I waited for Friday to come. And Friday came. He didn't ask the question. I know, but my husband says, praise the Lord. When we cross cultures, it can be a funny, confusing, embarrassing, fruitful, and frustrating encounter altogether. See what you miss if you're not crossing culture? The things that, you could have had a date, like I would have had a date. But the thing is, God brings people of different ethnicity and cultures, not just for our own entertainment, but for our own edification and growth. He brings people to Biola who are coming from different countries and ethnicities and cultures so that we will be a richer campus. All across the United States, there are over 800,000 international students from around the world. And God has opened this great door of opportunity. Countries that didn't bring students in the past 10, 20 years have brought them to our campuses. Saudi Arabia alone had an increase of 43% Saudi students on our U.S. campuses. They are number 6 in the top 10. And of course, California continues to be the #1 state that welcomes international students, with USC as the #1 school welcoming international students. I want to show you what it's like, aside from my faux pas cross-culturally, what it's like when you move from one culture to another. It's like being like a plant. This went through culture shock, by the way. It went through security from the East Coast to here. It was in the darkness of my bag and survived the lack of light. And like I say, I love living in America because everything comes with instructions. Okay? But if you see an international student, or anyone actually, you can be a freshman coming to Biola and feel like you have been uprooted. So what I'm going to do is uproot. Whoa. Okay. Wow. That's an easy one. Well, notice that this is root bound. It's ready for a big pot. A lot of our international students are ready to expand their academic wingspan. That's why they come here, to do undergrad, grad, postdoc, PhDs, and so on. So when we move from one culture to another, and by the way, study abroad, this is for you as well. When you move from here to that place in another part of the world, your root system will be affected. There are things that are familiar that will now become unfamiliar. So then what do we do with our international students is we expect them, of course, to fit. Well, not quite fit. I mean, let's try again. Fit. All right. This is what God wants us to see. The world is out there, and I want all of you, to have an experience away from the United States. I want all of you to seriously take a study abroad opportunity. Go somewhere else. Get out of this zip code. Get out of this state. It's good for you. And it expands your worldview and God's kingdom and His work around the world. So, this is our international students on our campuses. Yeah. We'll put it right there as a visual, right? We make a mess, we make mistakes, but I tell you, there is something so amazing about making friends with people from around the world. They enrich our lives. They enrich the way we look at Scripture. The things that we took for granted, they tell us that's something really important in their culture, in their way of life. So I want you to think, what's keeping you from crossing the border between your room and the room next door? Crossing the distance between those who have, initial difficulty in English, but in the end, they will become leaders in their countries. Someone said it takes about 25 years. And then you will find those students who are mostly in the back of the room at the beginning of the semester occupying places of influence around the world. And I can give you a whole list, and you can Google from the State Department, name after name after name of students who came to our campuses who ended up becoming leaders of their countries. But I'm not just talking about the VIPs. There are those who went home and became mothers. They became fathers. They became pastors. They became teachers and professors and doctors. And they carried with them their American education. So what does it mean for us as Biola student? We love God. We say He is great, and we sing about His might. But you know, this same God has a very, very special heart for the foreigners, the widows, and the orphans. In Leviticus 19, I read verses 33 to 34. When foreigners reside among you in your land, do not mistreat them. The foreigners residing among you must be treated as your native born. Love them as yourselves, for you were foreigners in Egypt. I am the Lord your God. Because you knew what it was like to be foreigners, to be mistreated, to be marginalized, I want you now to turn it around and reverse the treatment and treat the foreigners like native born. I am the Lord your God. In other words, this is serious business. He is putting his name. It's not a nice period, by the way. He is saying, I am saying this with all the authority of who I am. I am the Lord your God. In Deuteronomy, the same theme is repeated in terms of fearing God and obeying him. And he says he defends the cause of the fatherless and the widow and loves the foreigners. He loves the foreigners. He loves me. When I came and was shocked with the large steak and didn't know what this guy was talking about, he loved me in all my confusion. He loves the foreigners, giving them food and clothing. And you are to love those who are foreigners, for you yourselves were foreigners in Egypt. All through Scripture, we find God's heart looking out, caring for, and including those who were outside. He is the God of the outsiders, the God of the marginalized, and he wants them included in the fold. So for us, it's great to sing and hear about different languages, but we have a response. We have a response to make. What does God require of me when it means I love the people who look weird, who look displaced, awkward? They're not cool. And you say, well, I only hang out with cool people. Or there might be prejudices in your heart that start rising, and you realize that there are certain people you don't like. And there are certain people that you grew up not really associating with. And I want to ask you to just ask God to reveal that and ask God to change your heart. Because loving those internationals, loving the foreigners, begins with making room in our hearts. Making room and space in our hearts. I remember my father, who came to the United States in his late 60s and ended up starting a church in San Diego. But I remember clearly, you have to imagine this elderly Asian man, and they don't tell you their weakness, they don't tell you that they're having a hard time. But this one day, my father said to me, Lisa, I am having a difficult time because of all these different people that are coming to our house from different places. In particular, those with dark skin. I really have a hard time. And because there is no Tagalog equivalent of prejudice, the only word was hate. And he said, I see them, they haven't done anything to me, and my blood boils. And here's my father exposing the prejudice in his heart. And I wanted just to hug him and just say, thank you for admitting that. And I said, you just need a chance to get to know them. I know your feeling, but give it a chance. Just, get to know them, and soon enough, your perception of them will change. And weeks and months later, who would show up at the door but a man from Angola? And before my father could carry on his fear and prejudice, Marcus just came and hugged him, lifted him up. He was raised by his grandfather. So he saw my gray-haired father and said, perfect, you are now my grandfather. And the two of them became tight. They loved each other. Marcus would call and say, Tatay, there is wrestling happening. Professional wrestling. Even when you tell my father it's all fake, no, you don't, mess up with, with his affinity for this particular sport. Tatay, there is wrestling. Tatay, let's go and watch it. One day, his scholarship fell through. There was no money because of political turmoil in Angola. And who would be walking the sidewalk of the neighborhood but my father, looking for a job so Marcus could have some money? The next thing you know, they're mowing the lawn of several in the neighborhood so Marcus could make it. God had transformed my father, who said his blood boiled when he saw someone from Africa, and here was Marcus from Angola loving him and he loving him back. A few years later, Marcus became the Angolan ambassador to the United Nations. And of course, my father was very proud. My mother even said, "Don't they have diamonds in Angola?" You know what she meant, right? There was something transformative both ways. And when my father died in June of 2002, 10 years ago, there was a commotion in the back of the church as the service was about to start. I was sitting next to my mom, and I turned, and I saw Marcus. If you're late at an event, you just sit quietly, right? And not make people look at you. Oh, no, not Marcus. He went forward into the aisle, and I said, "Oh no, where is he going? Sit down, Marcus, we're about to start." No, he kept moving, walking, and stopped at the aisle where I was and found himself a spot, moved me away from my mom, and sat next to my mother, claiming his place as the son from Angola. My dear friends from Biola, there are those from around the world who want to claim that spot in our family. And God in Christ has paid it all so that they can claim the rightful place as members of the family of God. God is amazing. He has given us the opportunity to love Him through the people who are here from around the world. So for you, I want you to just begin. I'm not asking anything big. It's, exams and papers. No, nothing big. I just want you to smile. Someone looks different, just smile. That's what my mom did and brought all the internationals in our home just by smiling, okay? Second, I want you to pray. Begin to pray and say, "God, I need to break out. I need to have my cultural wingspan expanded. I am too ingrown, too isolated, too insulated, perhaps." And ask God. Be ready when God answers that prayer. And for those of you who are going overseas for various reasons, short-term study abroad, embrace the opportunity. Now you can sympathize. When you return home, you will be the first to say, "I want to find out, Ivan, who are the new international students on campus. I want to be the first to welcome. I want to be the first friend." Because in doing so, we reflect the heart of God, who is for the fatherless, the orphans, and the foreigners. Let's pray.
Biola University offers a variety of biblically centered degree programs, ranging from business to ministry to the arts and sciences. Visit biola.edu to find out how Biola could make a difference in your life.